What's going on, everybody? Hope you're all having a fantastic day today. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the other day we finally got the Season 3 patch notes for Black Ops 6, and I will agree, there are some good things scattered throughout these patch notes, don't get me wrong. But honestly, 3 seasons deep is kind of unacceptable, and again, Treyarch might have put in some work here, but man, oh man, it took way too long, and honestly, I don't think it's going to be enough to really drag back the players that they scared away within the first couple of seasons of, just ignoring and neglecting the overall experience. But ladies and gentlemen, before we go and dive deep, if you guys are interested in more content like this, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell. I post daily here at 8 Eastern Time. And of course, if you guys are interested in any of my live streams, I do stream Monday through Saturday over on Twitch, starting between 12 to 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Of course, if you guys are interested, gotta link that channel down in the description of this video. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, to go ahead and begin here, this is some actual good news, and that is the fact that console crossplay is finally going to be a thing. For those who don't know, Xbox can go ahead and turn off crossplay through their settings menu, I believe, and PlayStation can go into Call of Duty Black Ops 6 and turn off their crossplay settings there, but never before could they actually have crossplay for consoles only, where it kind of keeps away the PC players. Now, as a PC player, at the end of the day, I am kind of sad because it might interfere with how quickly we can get games nowadays compared to, how it was when it was only PC. But I know this is for the greater good of the overall game. I see a lot of people saying that this is being put into place to, counter the fact that they're not even going to be working on the anti-cheat more than likely, which I could totally see. But, regardless if the anti-cheat is fixed or not, this is still a feature the community has been asking for a long time. Forget about the cheats. Some people just don't want to verse mouse and keyboard players. And that's completely fair. Everybody's allowed to have their own opinions and their own preferences. And now we can finally have the freedom to use those preferences. But again, it took 3 seasons. Shoot, you know what? Let's not even say 3 seasons. It took like 3, 4, maybe even 5 COD titles for them to finally cave in and give the community this overall feature. Although outstanding, at the end of the day, it's still kind of weird that it took so long to incorporate this. They literally waited until the very end when things are finally crumbling to say, okay, let's allow Xbox and PlayStation to finally be able to play with each other and only play with each other. But again, those settings should be pretty useful and beneficial for a lot of players out there. They also improved the preloading shaders and, PC benchmarks have been improved. They went ahead and fixed a problem that has been here since day one. It says right here, entering Prestige will no longer reset operator calling card, emote spray, or gobblegum customization. That took, once again, 3 seasons. Although, I want to make it very clear, great change. But 3 seasons to finally allow players to not have to reset all of their stuff every time they prestige? I mean, that should have been done within the first week. Why 3 seasons later? You know what I'm saying? And let's be real here. You still can't see players' actual levels either. That's still bugged out. So, although they're fixing some things, the overall UI is still absolutely just bugged. Bugged to death. And I don't know when they're going to resolve any of this stuff. I don't even know if they're planning on resolving any of this stuff. I guarantee we're going to be seeing false levels on characters until the end of this game's life cycle. That is honestly, that's the point that I'm at right now with how slow they are pumping out these updates. So again, improvements to the preloading shaders and the PC benchmark and, all these things, good and all, but guys, again, why so late? These are features, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not trying to be negative, but it's the truth. These are features that should be there at day one, or else players are going to end up bouncing. The game's going to be too buggy for them, and we're coming in the middle of this game's life cycle now, practically. And the hardcore players are going to be pleased, the ones who stick around. But the ones who didn't stick around more than likely aren't going to come back for just this. I'm just saying, they already left because it took so long for them to resolve it. I don't think this is going to be enough to actually bring them back into the picture. But I do want to talk about the weapons here because I am actually extremely happy, ladies and gentlemen, because they did do some pretty good improvements. I'm going to skip some of them and just go to the one that I really care about, the Jackal. Ladies and gentlemen, the Jackal has finally been nerfed. 3 seasons later. I mean, this thing has been overpowered since the freaking beta. 3 seasons later, we finally get the improvements. Again, I am so happy I can't even describe. Basically, across the board, all ranges have been nerfed to the dirt. I don't think they really nerfed anything else like, damage and all that stuff. They also did, let me see here. It says headshot multiplier decreased from 1.27 to 1.24. Slide to fire time improved from 320 to 300. Dive to fire time improved from 400 to 380. And increased recoil strength and deviation. And they also went ahead and reduced the performance of both the vertical foregrip, which was for horizontal recoil, and also the ranger foregrip, which was also for horizontal recoil as well. So all the recoil attachments got a nerf. The range got a nerf. The damage will be the same. But I think they're trying to go ahead and encourage this to be be a frickin' SMG, not a mini assault rifle that can beam across the map. Again, I'm so excited to hear this. I just hope the nerf actually functions and works. We will see. Only time will tell when we actually get hands-on, and you best believe I'll probably be right there, commentating about it if it got fixed or not right away, because man, oh man, this has been the most anticipated change I've been waiting for since, like I said, day one, and it took 3 seasons. If it's not resolved, my God, the craziest rant is going to be posted on this channel. But when it goes over to the assault rifles, they messed with both the XM4 and the GPR. The XM4 only for the 3-round burst mod. Burst fire delay reduced from 160 to 140, so it might be pretty decent to use, but I don't really care if I'm going to be honest with you guys. Doesn't really bother me. Probably will never use it. GPR 91 reduced visual recoil. For those who don't know, in Season 2, they destroyed the GPR, and they never bothered fixing it. Once again, another thing that's like, okay, thank you for finally doing, but it only took us a whole season to get there. One of the easiest changes you could possibly do. The GPR was literally not unplayable. I still enjoyed it, but it was at a massive disadvantage compared to every other weapon in the game. Fun, but I mean, every other gun doesn't have visual recoil, and the GPR still does. Took a season to fix it, but it's finally here. And the biggest change to the assault rifles is for the Goblin MK2, which I'm actually excited for. Now, hear me out on this one. Hear me out. Basically, the damage has been reduced for the Goblin across all ranges. Max, medium, and minimum range. The damage has been reduced. The regular range itself has been increased, so damage from range has been reduced, but the actual range itself has been increased. And their goal, according to Treyarch, is that they want to turn this into a very fast-firing assault rifle, how they've always imagined it, and that's how I always imagined it as well, but I feel like it never lived up to the expectations. So what they did is they increased the rate of fire from 460 RPM to 600 RPM, and the ADS speed improved from 240 to 230 ms. And then the attachment adjustments, the CHF barrel attachment headshot multiplier increased from 1.5 to 1.6, and they say it's very noticeable, but honestly, I don't really care. The only thing I care about is that rate of fire improvement. That is going to be the true deciding factor if the Goblin is going to be fun or not. Because again, it was never made for long-range gunfights, so when you try to compete with another gun like a Krig or an Ames or something like that, or an XM4, you get outgunned. But when you go up close and personal and use the, Goblin how it's supposed to be used, up close to maybe medium range, you get outgunned anyways by other guns like SMGs because the fire rate isn't fast enough. So I'm very excited to see how this is going to be. So far, the Jackal and the Goblin are going to be 2 of the most, focused on weapons. And the AS Val actually caught a buff as well, one of my favorite guns, but not really anything too crazy. They just increased the range from maximum damage range. And also, the movement speed increased from 4.7 to 4.8. ADS movement speed increased from 3.2 to 3.3. And they also did a little bit of a, I don't know if it's about, let me see, the CHF barrel attachment vertical recoil penalty reduced from 50 to 30%. So yes, the AS Val got buffed. I already love this gun. I understand it's the most underrated weapon in the game. People don't really like it because the damage doesn't really keep up. It's my most used gun. If you look at my combat record, it's literally right under the MP5. I love this thing. So a buff is not going to be, bad for me, and I'll gladly be checking it out. They also messed with the binary trigger for the Tonto .22, increasing the range across the board. And they also said headshot damage scaling increased from 12 to 15%, vertical recoil improvement increased from 10 to 20%, and horizontal recoil improvement increased from 10 to 20%. This is something that I'm interested with because I wanted to like the binary trigger. I really wanted to like it, but the more I used it, the more I just hated it. I'm going to be real. I hated it across the board. The regular Tonto was so much better. So I'm hoping that, this will allow us to hyper-focus, different attachments instead of having hyper-focus recoil, and we can see how it actually functions. Maybe it'll be better. Maybe it won't, but only time will tell. They also went ahead and messed with the burst for the compact, but I don't care. Again, something that I'm not really going to focus on. If you guys want to give it a shot, by all means, but I mean, the regular compact is tremendously better, so I don't know. To me, I just personally think, who cares? And they also went ahead and buffed the shotguns again for damage range, and also they increased the headshot multiplier on some of these shotguns as well, but pretty much all the shotties across the board caught another buff to both damage and also range. I don't know, man. I'm never really too big of a fan of having shotties be too overwhelming, but I do agree. These are probably the worst shotguns we've seen in a long time. I'd argue in I don't know, 5-6+ years, these are hands down the worst. So, at the same time as I can acknowledge having buffs being good, in the same breath, I can see that it could be a problem because then SMGs become irrelevant if the shotguns become too good. So, this is something that I really want to try out. This is going to be an important factor that I want to test out when, the update obviously drops to see if shotguns are going to be dominant or if they're going to be kind of more low-key. And they also messed with the Marksman rifles, increasing the rate of fire and also maximum damage range for the DM10. Now, this thing was already a demon to begin with, but with this rate of fire increase and also the damage increase, I mean, shoot, it might become even more, toxic. Saying rate of fire improved from 300 RPM to 333 RPM, and received flinch reduced by 20%. That is huge, guys. Flinch, that is the biggest, factor to a marksman rifle. And the fact that they're reducing it even more, allowing you to maybe hyper-focus different attachments, is going to be massive. They also increased the rate of fire for the Zarkov from 200 to 230, so I'm going to be interested in checking that out. That might be kind of fun to use. And they also went ahead and did some tweaks to the AEK fully auto mod. Slightly reduced view kick strength, so that's going to be interesting because it was already good in the first place, in my opinion. And for the TR2, the FAL in Black Ops 6, they went ahead and did a rate of fire improvement from 400 to 480, which is going to be really cool to see. Slide to fire time improved from 370 to 360. Dive to fire time improved from 450 to 440. And received flinch reduced by 40%. That is mental. Absolutely mental. So again, on my radar so far is probably mostly the DM10 and the TR2 when it comes to the marksmans. They seem like they got some really juicy buffs here. And they also went ahead and did some movement updates. Increased crouch to stand speed by 15% and increased crouch to stand speed while ADS by 39%. And lastly, increased directional sprint animation blend speeds for improved fluidity. Hopefully, I don't know exactly what that means, but I hope it just means the animations look cleaner, because that's probably the hardest part about Omni movement in Black Ops 6 is that the animations look so jarring. And sometimes it's hard for a lot of players to keep up with them because they just, like I said, look so insane. So I'm hoping that they, go ahead and improve them across the board. But other than that, ladies and gentlemen, that's pretty much it here. They went ahead and said they claimed they addressed, some spawn issues so people don't spawn, near active shock charges. But I've been saying this since the beginning of the time. The spawns are never going to get better until they go ahead and actually give us bigger maps. That's the only way. And also, they reduced the score streak pay limit for the War Machine. The Interceptor got reduced as well from 1150 to 1025. But the War Machine got reduced from 1300 to 1150. Once again, absolutely freaking mental. I can't believe they reduced it, because that's one of the best things in the game is the War Machine. So to make it easier to get, I can't explain, but I'm extraordinarily excited to see how this turns out. And also, they reduced the slide and max speed scale from 1.6 to 1.55 and reduced slide max time from 0.7 to 0.65. I'm assuming to make the slide a little bit cleaner, smoother, faster. I'm not exactly sure. All these things are going to be interesting, but really, you can't really tell until you try them out live and in action. So when we do try them out, I'll be sure to make a couple of videos about that stuff. But overall, ladies and gentlemen, again, not a bad update. I have to be honest with you guys. It's not a bad update. But when I think of this update, I think, why is it so late? A lot of this stuff could have been resolved instantly. Instantly. The Jackal could have been fixed in Season 1 or Season 2. Why are we waiting until Season 3 to resolve these problems? Same thing with the Goblin. They knew what they wanted it to be, but it took 3 seasons to just make it a better close, range weapon. It just seems so strange. I don't know, man. And, also with the crossplay settings, we waited 5+ years for consoles to be able to only play with other consoles, crossplay with Xbox and PlayStation, leaving out and excluding PC players. That's like 5+ years going that we've been waiting for something like that to be introduced. I don't know, man. Same thing with the prestiges for setting your operators and all this stuff. So many good things. So many good things just done in such a long, timely manner that, like I said in the beginning of this video, I don't think people are going to go out of their way to come back for things that should have been fixed, within probably a couple of weeks after launch. But, ladies and gentlemen, as always, if you enjoyed today's video, leave a like. If you hate it, leave a dislike. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell. I post daily here to 8 morning Eastern Time. And, of course, if you guys are interested in my live streams, I do stream Monday through Saturday over on Twitch, starting between 12 to 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Of course, if you guys are interested, I'll link that channel down in the description of this video. But, as always, thank you for tuning in. I'll see you on the next one. Peace out.